What's up, viewers, subscribers, and agents alike? It's your boy Enlightened Luciferian Prince coming at y'all once again. Now, going back to my previous video, Courts by Contract, I feel like I want to make a couple more parts to this to clarify, drive it home, and to give people a little bit more clarity on how contracts work through court system, and then I'll get to how contracts work through other entities, because like I said before, in commerce it's all contract. If you're watching this video around children, I ask that you please remove them from your immediate vicinity, because my videos are not for children. Simple as that. Now, when it boils down to it, let's go back to where I left off last in my previous video, where I basically made a distinction between how it is that they use quote-unquote attorneys or lawyers to get you to contract unwittingly or unknowingly. Now, again, as I said previously, a lot of people may disagree. That's perfectly fine. That is on you. However, courts via contract are often facilitated through attorneys, because these are the mediating parties in regards to any commercial transaction on how they particularly view you as considered chattel, or considered what in the commercial term will be considered surety. Surety is something that is held in what is considered called bailment, which is basically a constructed entity, i.e. strawman corporation, who is used to basically say, for the court system to say, well, we're going to hold you, the natural person, responsible for the corporation sold. Now, I know that a lot of people might disagree with it, and especially agents. They're going to say, whatever. That's fine. But it is what it is. Get a Black's Law dictionary, rewatch the video, look up some of these legal terms. Trust me. It is in there. It's in the black and white. You know, they might disagree, but those are basically arguments with no substance. Those are just quotations in which they don't want you to come to a cognizance of how this shit works. Okay? Facts. So, consult with Black's Law Dictionary for your own edification, your own study purposes. But anywho, giving up what is considered subject matter jurisdiction, which is basically what they're after. So what is subject matter jurisdiction? It's exactly what it says it is. Subject, the matter, and the jurisdiction thereof. Just that easy. Now, when you fall into a particular corporate capacity, or municipality, or whatever the case may be, just because they say they have jurisdiction doesn't mean that they have to. Now, I know a lot of people often say, well, you have to challenge jurisdiction, or you have to go in there. Don't become a belligerent. Trust me. Their thing, when you stand up for yourself, is to basically try to crush you or cut you off at the beginning, to try to make it seem like you have a fallacious argument, and basically whatever you're saying is not notable. Remember, we're not arguing the charge. We're not arguing the case. We're arguing the subject matter jurisdiction, which in and of itself, here's something that you will know. They never have it. You know why? They never have it because in order for you to have subject matter jurisdiction over something, you have to have firsthand knowledge of anything. Now, we're going to dive into fewer and more recognizable legal terms, such as principle. Not like in the school, we're talking about principle. The individual is responsible for the fulfillment of the obligation of the contract. Now, remember when I told you that videos prior, that the quote-unquote United States government had decided that they were going to take the people's ability away to pay debts. So if you look at Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1865, and you look up principal obligation, it's he or she who swore by a simple pact to pay the debt of another. And this is always the principal obligation. So by fraud and via deception, they transfer the principal obligation to the straw man entity, and then via deception, coercion, and intimidation, they use these tactics in order to enforce these contracts upon people. It is just that simple. I don't care if anyone disagrees with me. If you look these definitions up, you'll see that this is the way that it works. Now, the redemption process is one of those things that keeps you from holding your natural self liable for act of forbearance on behalf of a faulty transaction, which in and of itself is always taken out in a straw man or transmitting utility capacity. So when you look at it for what it's worth, a straw man or transmitting utility capacity is not you. It's just something that pretends to be yourself. Sort of like looking in a mirror. You see an image, you think it's you, but it's not. It's just a reflection. It's not your physical self. It's a reflection of your physical self. But it wasn't created without your permission or your consent, because you didn't even know until you became of an age of knowledgeability. And they know this. And then you have to understand that most corporations play upon this. And yes, their attorneys are well versed in this stuff. Their attorneys are there as gatekeepers to basically ensure that this never gets affected. This endeavor never gets affected. Now take it into consideration if you're a business owner or you have some type of financial endeavor or whatever. Entrepreneurship doesn't matter. You're going to protect your investment, correct? However, when you have to realize that that is something that you did by your own free will, this is not the same as a corporate system. Okay? So let's not confuse the two. Getting back on track. Now, these particular entities say, hey, well, we got to we started this thing rolling, but we don't really want to be liable for it. We can't. We don't have the capacity to be liable for it. And this is where a lot of people fail or fall short in their understanding on how this stuff works. So you get coerced, you get intimidated, you get bullied, so to speak. And then these people turn around and say, well, you did this. And you believe it. And, anybody with a modicum of common sense would be like, well, prove it. However, most people don't do that. They often believe in the perception that, yes, indeed, through intimidation, fear tactics, whatever, they believe that they did do it. That's just the enforcement of the contract. It's just like debt collectors when they call you and they harass you. They're just trying to enforce the contract, because once a contract is actually made, irrespective of it being signed, a liability has been created. And the one who created it is the one who's liable for the creation of the contract. It's never the signator. See, the signator or the signer of the contract is the person who is often unawares, majority of the time, who knows not what they sign. Now, we often heard the quote, ignorance is no excuse, it's no excuse to not knowing the law. Fine. But if you don't know it, how could you know that how it works against you? So if it's via contract, if it's via a nexus, which is what it's also known as in the legal terminology, that means that the court assumes or presumes what is called joinder. The court never has joinder. A lot of people never ask the court, what is joinder, or do we have joinder? Joinder, look it up in Black's Law Dictionary, is nothing more than saying, where did I ever give you permission for you to execute this liability? We have no joinder. You see what I'm saying? Now, there are other people who may say, well, this stuff doesn't work, whatever. Again, that is the voice of a company man. That is the voice of a company man or woman. When I say company man, that means there's somebody who holds these preconceived notions and these formulations and this indoctrination to be the supreme truth in their life. Just because they say it doesn't mean it doesn't work in yours. It only works if you work it. So, moral of the story. These individuals say by coercion, deception, and fraudulent practices make you accept something. And it's the equivalent of a banking transaction. See, the only thing that it is the contract is a binding obligation. But a binding obligation is only valid when it's between two living souls. Not an individual natural person and not a corporation. That is a fraudulent contract. And to mention, contracts do not confer subject matter jurisdiction to a court. And you just learned that in less than 10 minutes. It's just that easy, people. See, people have to understand contract law. Everything you do is a contract, some way, shape, or form. Using apps on your phone, entering stores and businesses, yeah, that's an invisible one. Or it's considered an implied contract. At the beginning of the pandemic, you had to realize they told you if you don't come in here with such as a face covering on, guess what? You can't shop. You didn't have to. You chose to. Because you believed in the conditioning of the necessity that you had to. And there were plenty of other places you could have went. But you looked at the falsification of the convenience, not realizing, even if it was, you'd be still putting your health at risk. But guess what? They said if you enter into here, you can't sue us. And you just walk right past the sign. You don't read. Most people head stuck in their phone in public. You got the world at the palm of your fingertip. You mean to tell me that the best thing you can do is watch some goofy ass videos and not pay attention around to what's going on around you? Lost in the sauce. Straight up, lost in the sauce. But if this is your first time viewing my channel, like and subscribe. Simple. You don't like what I have to say? Unsubscribe. Simple. I only hold the truth to be self-evident. I don't hold man's truth to be self-evident. And I damn sure don't believe in that whole prescription of law concept behind the Constitution. Nah. I hold the truth to be self-evident. That's why it's so evident. That's why I love it so much. And if you do subscribe, make sure you hit that notification button. So every time I do post a video, you'll be in the loop. Because when you're shadow banned, what YouTube does is takes you out the algorithm. So only people who are subscribed to my channel have notifications are the only people who are going to get this content. Serious. The choice is yours and yours alone. Next, we're going to go into contracts. And we're going to go into them a little bit deeper to show you how to secure yourself against signing against yourself, your natural self, and keeping you and your finances safe from some act of forbearance upon another third party. Peace, light, love. Agents, man, fuck you. I guess you didn't think people would find it out, would they? Well, we know in your arsenal you have what's called plausible deniability. But it's all regrading. There's publications on this stuff. I didn't make it. I just interpreted it for what it was to keep my ass out of hot water. Y'all stay tuned for the next upload. Love y'all.